MrBeast helped 2,000 people walk again. Their reactions will shock you. The sun was setting over Greenville, North Carolina, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink as Jimmy Donaldson, better known to millions as MrBeast, paced anxiously outside a sprawling medical facility. His hands were shoved deep into the pockets of his hoodie, but it wasn't the cool evening breeze that had him fidgeting. It was anticipation, the kind that comes when you're about to change lives forever. For weeks, Jimmy and his team had been working tirelessly behind the scenes on what would become one of their most ambitious projects yet, helping 2,000 people regain mobility through life-changing surgeries, prosthetics, and advanced physical therapy treatments. The idea had sparked during a casual conversation with a fan who had shared their struggles with mobility issues after a car accident. That single story ignited a fire within Jimmy, a determination to address a problem he hadn't realized affected so many. "I want to help them walk again," Jimmy had declared to his team during an early brainstorming session. "Not just give them crutches or wheelchairs, but actually fix what's holding them back." At first, the scope of the project seemed impossible. Coordinating surgeries, manufacturing custom prosthetics, and arranging rehabilitation programs for thousands of individuals across multiple states required resources and logistics far beyond anything they'd tackled before. But if there was one thing Jimmy had learned from years of creating viral philanthropic content, it was this: where there's a will, there's a way. Now, standing outside the facility, Jimmy glanced at the long line of buses parked nearby. Each one carried dozens of participants who had traveled from all corners of the country to take part in the program. Some were children born with congenital conditions. Others were adults injured in accidents or battling degenerative diseases. All shared one common dream: to stand on their own 2 feet again. As the first group of participants disembarked, Jimmy approached them, his signature smile lighting up his face. "Welcome," he said warmly, shaking hands and exchanging hugs with those willing. "We're so excited to have you here. Today is the beginning of something amazing." Among the crowd was Maria Alvarez, a 34-year-old mother of 2 from Texas. A workplace accident 5 years earlier had left her paralyzed from the waist down, forcing her to rely on a wheelchair ever since. Despite the challenges, she had remained fiercely independent, raising her kids, managing household chores, and even volunteering at a local shelter. Still, there were moments when the weight of her situation felt unbearable. "I promised myself I wouldn't cry," Maria whispered to her youngest son, Mateo, as tears streamed down her cheeks. "But seeing all these people coming together, it feels like a miracle." Nearby, 10-year-old Elijah Carter clung tightly to his father's hand. Born with cerebral palsy, Elijah had spent most of his childhood confined to leg braces and crutches. While his condition hadn't stopped him from dreaming big, he wanted to be a soccer player someday. It had made everyday activities painfully difficult. "Do you think I'll really get to run?" Elijah asked hopefully, his wide eyes fixed on Jimmy. Jimmy crouched down to meet his gaze, placing a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. "Absolutely," he replied with unwavering conviction. "By the time we're done, you'll be scoring goals faster than anyone can keep up." Inside the facility, doctors, surgeons, and therapists buzzed around, preparing for the influx of patients. Every room had been transformed into a hub of activity, equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic tools and treatment stations. Volunteers wearing bright yellow shirts emblazoned with Team Beast guided participants to their assigned areas, ensuring everyone felt supported and cared for. Jimmy moved through the chaos with purpose, stopping frequently to chat with individuals and families. He listened intently as they shared their stories, each one unique, yet united by a shared sense of hope. For many, this day represented more than just medical intervention. It symbolized a chance to reclaim independence, dignity, and joy. As night fell, the facility buzzed with energy, illuminated by soft overhead lights and the hum of conversations. In one corner, Maria sat nervously awaiting her initial consultation, clutching a photo of her children close to her chest. Across the room, Elijah bounced excitedly on his crutches, eager to begin his journey toward running freely. Watching it all unfold, Jimmy felt a surge of pride and responsibility. This wasn't just another challenge video or stunt. It was a promise, and promises he knew couldn't be broken. Little did anyone realize, however, that the road ahead would test not only their bodies but also their spirits. What happened next would leave everyone involved, including Jimmy, speechless. Hey, if you love emotional and inspiring stories like this one, make sure to like this video and subscribe. It really helps us bring you more incredible stories. And don't forget to comment below. What's your favorite moment? Let's talk. The initial excitement of the first day quickly gave way to the harsh realities of what lay ahead. For many participants, the medical evaluations revealed complications far more severe than anticipated. Some required multiple surgeries instead of one, while others discovered underlying conditions that made recovery even more challenging. The sheer scale of the undertaking began to weigh heavily on everyone involved, including Jimmy. Maria Alvarez was among those facing unexpected hurdles. During her consultation, doctors informed her that years of immobility had weakened her muscles and joints to the point where surgery alone wouldn't be enough. She would need months of intensive physical therapy afterward, a daunting prospect for a single mother already stretched thin. "I don't know if I can do this," Maria admitted quietly to Jimmy during a private moment. "It's not just about me. It's my kids. Who's going to take care of them while I'm recovering?" Jimmy placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, his expression soft but determined. "We've got you covered," he promised. "That's why we're here, not just to fix your legs, but to make sure everything else falls into place too. You focus on getting better. We'll handle the rest." True to his word, Jimmy's team sprang into action. They arranged temporary childcare services for Maria's sons, set up financial assistance programs to cover lost income during her recovery, and even coordinated transportation to ensure she could attend every therapy session without worry. But despite their efforts, the emotional toll remained evident in Maria's weary eyes. Meanwhile, young Elijah Carter faced his own struggles. His cerebral palsy diagnosis came with additional complexities. Scar tissue around his knees and hips would require delicate surgical procedures, followed by grueling rehabilitation. When Dr. Patel, the lead orthopedic surgeon, explained the process to Elijah's father, Michael, the gravity of the situation hit hard. "This isn't going to be easy," Dr. Patel warned gently. "Elijah will have to endure pain, frustration, and setbacks. Are you both ready for that?" Michael nodded, though his clenched jaw betrayed his anxiety. Turning to Elijah, who sat quietly beside him, he added, "Buddy, remember what MrBeast said? This is step one. We're in it together, okay?" Elijah forced a brave smile, nodding eagerly. "I want to run, Dad. I really want to try." As surgeries began and treatment plans unfolded, Jimmy found himself grappling with doubts of his own. The logistical challenges were immense, coordinating hundreds of medical professionals, managing supply chains for custom prosthetics, and ensuring each participant received personalized care. Mistakes happened, equipment delays, miscommunications between departments, and unforeseen complications during surgeries tested the resolve of everyone involved. One particularly difficult evening, after learning that 3 surgeries had been postponed due to staffing shortages, Jimmy retreated to a quiet corner of the facility. Slumping into a chair, he buried his face in his hands, overwhelmed by the enormity of the task. "Hey, boss," Chris, one of his closest friends and longtime collaborators, said softly, approaching him. "You okay?" Jimmy exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know, man. What if we can't pull this off? What if we let these people down?" Chris pulled up a chair, sitting beside him. "Look, no one expects perfection. These families didn't sign up for flawless execution. They signed up because they trust you. And so far, you've given them hope. That's worth more than anything." His words struck a chord, reminding Jimmy of the core reason behind this project. It wasn't about achieving perfection. It was about making a difference, even if imperfectly. Determined to push forward, Jimmy rallied his team, implementing new strategies to streamline operations. He hired additional staff, partnered with local hospitals to share resources, and introduced daily check-ins to address issues promptly. Slowly but surely, progress improved, and the mood within the facility shifted from uncertainty to cautious optimism. Yet, the emotional weight continued to mount, for both participants and caregivers. One afternoon, as Jimmy walked through the therapy wing, he overheard a heated argument between a teenage girl named Ava and her physical therapist. Diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, Ava had grown frustrated with the slow pace of her recovery. "I'm never going to walk again," she shouted, tears streaming down her face. "Why bother trying?" The therapist tried to calm her, but Ava stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. Without hesitation, Jimmy followed her, finding her sitting alone in a nearby courtyard. "Hey," he said gently, taking a seat beside her. "Mind if I join you?" Ava shrugged, wiping her tears angrily. "Doesn't matter anyway. Nothing's working." Jimmy leaned back, gazing up at the sky. "You know, when I started doing charity stuff, I thought it'd be all sunshine and rainbows. Turns out helping people is messy, and sometimes it feels like nothing's changing. But here's the thing, change doesn't happen overnight. It's tiny steps, one after another, until suddenly you look back and realize how far you've come." Ava glanced at him skeptically. "And what if I never get there?" Jimmy smiled faintly. "Then at least you'll know you tried. And trust me, that matters more than you think." Her shoulders relaxed slightly, and though she didn't respond, Jimmy could see a flicker of determination returning to her eyes. Back inside, similar moments played out across the facility. Families supported each other, sharing stories of resilience and perseverance. Therapists worked tirelessly to adapt treatments to individual needs, celebrating small victories along the way. Even Maria, who had initially doubted her ability to endure the process, began showing signs of improvement during her early therapy sessions. "You're stronger than you think," her therapist encouraged her one afternoon as she took her first tentative steps using parallel bars. "Just keep pushing." Tears welled up in Maria's eyes as she looked down at her trembling legs. "I never thought I'd feel this again," she whispered, gripping the bars tightly. "Thank you for believing in me." Jimmy watched from the sidelines, moved by the scene. He knew the road ahead would still be long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time since the project began, he allowed himself to believe they might actually succeed. Little did anyone realize, however, that the most profound transformation was yet to come. As the weeks turned into months, something extraordinary began to emerge, not just in the participants' bodies, but in their spirits, and it would culminate in a moment so powerful, it would leave the entire world speechless. Wow, this story is getting intense. If you're enjoying it so far, don't forget to tap that like button and let us know in the comments what you think will happen next. Also, share this video with a friend who loves celebrity stories. Months into the project, progress had become a patchwork of triumphs and setbacks. For every participant who took their first steps with tears of joy, there was another grappling with frustration, pain, or disappointment. The emotional toll weighed heavily on everyone involved: participants, families, medical staff, and even Jimmy himself. But it was during these moments of struggle that the true strength of the human spirit began to shine through. One morning, as Jimmy made his rounds through the facility, he stopped by Elijah Carter's therapy session. The young boy sat slumped in a wheelchair, his crutches resting against the wall beside him. His usual bright smile was replaced by a somber expression, and his father, Michael, looked equally disheartened. "What's going on, champ?" Jimmy asked, crouching down to meet Elijah's gaze. Elijah hesitated before responding, his voice barely above a whisper. "I can't do it," he admitted, tears welling up in his eyes. "They said I'd be running by now, but my legs still hurt too much. Maybe I'm not strong enough." Jimmy's heart clenched at the vulnerability in the boy's voice. He glanced at Michael, who nodded subtly, signaling that this was a moment Elijah needed to face head-on. "You know what?" Jimmy said, his tone firm but kind. "Being strong isn't about never feeling weak. It's about getting back up when things get hard. And trust me, Elijah, you're stronger than you think." To prove his point, Jimmy rolled up his sleeve, revealing faint scars along his forearm, a reminder of injuries he'd sustained during previous stunts. "See these? Every time something went wrong, I could have quit. But I didn't. Why? Because giving up means letting fear win, and I know you don't want that." Elijah stared at the scars, then back at Jimmy, his resolve slowly returning. "Okay," he whispered, gripping the arms of his wheelchair tightly. "I'll try again." With renewed determination, Elijah pushed himself to stand, leaning heavily on his crutches. Though his legs trembled under the strain, he refused to sit back down until he'd taken 3 shaky steps forward. When he finally collapsed into his father's arms, the room erupted into applause, not just from Jimmy and the therapists, but from other participants watching nearby. That moment marked a turning point, not just for Elijah, but for everyone in the facility. Word spread quickly about the young boy who refused to give up, inspiring others to dig deeper within themselves. Maria Alvarez, who had struggled with self-doubt since the beginning, found herself drawing strength from Elijah's perseverance. "I see that little guy fighting so hard," she confided to her therapist one afternoon. "If he can keep going, then so can I." Her breakthrough came weeks later during a particularly grueling therapy session. After months of intensive rehabilitation, Maria stood upright without assistance for the first time in years. Tears streamed down her face as she locked eyes with her sons, who cheered wildly from the sidelines. "I did it," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I actually did it." Similar milestones unfolded across the facility, each one fueling a collective sense of hope and accomplishment. Yet amidst the celebrations, unforeseen challenges continued to arise. Funding shortages threatened to delay treatments for several participants, while supply chain disruptions delayed the delivery of custom prosthetics. Critics online accused Jimmy of overpromising, claiming the project was unsustainable. Faced with mounting pressure, Jimmy called an emergency meeting with his team. "We knew this wasn't going to be easy," he reminded them, pacing back and forth, "but we also knew it was worth it. So let's figure out how to make it work, no matter what." Inspired by his unwavering commitment, the team rallied once more. They launched a crowdfunding campaign, sharing heartfelt videos of participants' journeys to garner additional support. Donations poured in from fans around the world, accompanied by messages of encouragement and gratitude. Among the donors was a surprising contributor, Ava, the teenage girl who had once doubted her ability to recover. After weeks of relentless effort, she had begun walking short distances with the aid of braces. Determined to pay it forward, she donated a portion of her savings to help fund surgeries for others. "This place gave me hope when I didn't think I had any left," she wrote in a public post. "Now it's my turn to give someone else a chance." Her gesture sparked a wave of generosity, with participants and their families contributing whatever they could to ensure the project's success. Even local businesses joined in, offering discounted services and supplies to ease the financial burden. As momentum grew, Jimmy decided to organize a special event to celebrate the halfway mark of the program. Dubbed Steps Forward, the gathering brought together all 2,000 participants, their families, and the medical team responsible for their care. Held outdoors under a canopy of twinkling lights, the evening featured speeches, performances, and a symbolic walkathon where participants showcased their progress. Maria stood proudly beside her sons, taking cautious steps along the designated path. Elijah grinned ear to ear as he navigated the course using his crutches, earning cheers from the crowd. Even Ava, who had initially resisted therapy, walked unaided for the first time, her confidence radiating with every step. But the most powerful moment came when Jimmy addressed the audience. Standing on stage with Elijah by his side, he reflected on the journey thus far. "When we started this project, I thought I was here to help people walk again," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "What I didn't realize is that they were here to teach me something. That resilience isn't about never falling. It's about rising every time you do." The crowd erupted into applause, many rising to their feet as Jimmy announced plans to expand the initiative globally. Partnering with international organizations, He pledged to bring similar programs to underserved communities worldwide. Yet, as uplifting as the evening was, it also served as a poignant reminder of the challenges still ahead. Not every participant would achieve full mobility. Some might require lifelong support. But what mattered most wasn't perfection. It was progress. And in that moment, surrounded by thousands of individuals defying odds and rewriting futures, Jimmy realized something profound. The greatest victories weren't measured in steps taken, but in lives transformed. Little did anyone know, however, that the most shocking revelation was yet to come. A discovery that would leave the entire world speechless. We're about to reveal something shocking. But before we do, take a second to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an emotional story like this one. And tell us, if you were in this situation, what would you do? The final phase of Jimmy's mobility project was nearing completion, with participants making remarkable strides, literally and figuratively. The facility buzzed with anticipation as families prepared for the culmination of months of hard work. A grand celebration dubbed the Walk of Hope. It was more than just an event. It was a testament to resilience, determination, and the power of collective effort. On the morning of the event, participants gathered at a sprawling park transformed into a vibrant festival ground. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, each emblazoned with messages like, "Every step matters" and "Together we rise." Volunteers guided attendees to their starting positions along a mile-long path lined with cheering supporters. Among them were Maria Alvarez, Elijah Carter, Ava, and thousands of others whose lives had been forever changed by the program. Jimmy stood near the starting line, visibly moved as he watched participants take their places. Some walked confidently, while others relied on crutches, braces, or wheelchairs. Each individual represented not just a personal victory, but a shared triumph over adversity. As the countdown began, Jimmy stepped onto a small stage to address the crowd. "Today isn't about finishing first," he said, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "It's about celebrating how far you've come and reminding yourselves that no challenge is too big when you have hope, support, and courage." When the starting whistle blew, the air erupted with cheers, applause, and even tears. Families ran alongside loved ones, offering words of encouragement. Medical staff and volunteers cheered from the sidelines, many overcome with pride as they witnessed the fruits of their labor. Maria led her sons down the path, her steps steady despite the lingering tremor in her legs. Mateo held up a handmade sign that read, "Mom's my hero," as they crossed the halfway mark. Nearby, Elijah navigated the course with surprising speed, his crutches clicking rhythmically against the pavement. When he reached the finish line, he dropped them dramatically, raising his arms in victory as the crowd roared. But it was Ava who delivered one of the most unforgettable moments. Clad in a bright red jacket, she approached the final stretch slowly, her legs shaking under the strain. Just as exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her, a group of fellow participants surrounded her, linking arms to form a human chain. Together, they crossed the finish line as one, embodying the spirit of unity that had defined the entire project. As participants celebrated their achievements, Jimmy pulled Elijah aside for a private moment. "You ready for your surprise?" he asked, his eyes twinkling mischievously. Elijah nodded eagerly, though confusion flickered across his face. Jimmy gestured toward a nearby tent where a sleek pair of custom-designed running blades awaited. "These are for you," he announced, grinning widely. "Now nothing's stopping you from chasing those soccer dreams." Tears welled up in Elijah's eyes as he hugged Jimmy tightly. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice trembling with gratitude. "I'll never forget this." Meanwhile, Maria received another life-changing gift, a scholarship fund established by Jimmy's foundation to cover her children's education expenses during her recovery. "You've given us so much already," she told him, choking back tears. "How can we ever repay you?" "You already have," Jimmy replied sincerely, "by showing everyone what's possible when you refuse to give up." The emotional high of the day reached its zenith when Jimmy unveiled the project's crowning achievement, a documentary titled Steps Forward. Filmed over the course of the program, it captured the raw emotions, struggles, and triumphs of participants, offering an intimate look at their journeys. Clips from the film were screened during the event, leaving many in the audience visibly moved. One particularly poignant scene featured Ava addressing the camera directly. "Before this, I thought my body was broken beyond repair," she confessed, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. "But now I know. I'm not broken. I'm strong, and I owe that to everyone who believed in me." The documentary ended with a montage of participants taking their first steps, running, dancing, and embracing loved ones. As the credits rolled, the crowd erupted into applause once more, many rising to their feet in a standing ovation. Yet the most shocking revelation came during Jimmy's closing remarks. Standing before the sea of faces, he announced plans to expand the initiative exponentially, not just domestically, but globally. Partnering with governments, NGOs, and private donors, he pledged to help an additional 10,000 people regain mobility within the next 5 years. "This isn't the end," he declared passionately. "It's only the beginning. Because if we can change 2,000 lives, imagine what we can do for 10,000 or 100,000. Together, we're proving that humanity's greatest strength isn't technology or wealth, it's compassion." The announcement sent shockwaves through the audience, drawing gasps of disbelief followed by thunderous applause. For Maria, Elijah, Ava, and countless others, it was validation that their struggles hadn't been in vain, that their stories had sparked a movement capable of transforming the world. Months later, as the participants returned to their respective homes, the ripple effects of the project continued to unfold. Maria re-enrolled in college, pursuing a degree in social work so she could help others facing similar challenges. Elijah joined a local soccer team, his newfound mobility allowing him to chase his dreams on the field. And Ava became an advocate for accessibility rights, using her platform to raise awareness about the importance of inclusive healthcare. For Jimmy, the experience reinforced why he had dedicated his life to philanthropy. It wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about creating moments of connection, hope, and transformation. As he reflected on the journey, he realized that the true legacy of Steps Forward wasn't measured in numbers or milestones. It was etched in the hearts of those who dared to believe in the impossible. In the years that followed, the project inspired countless imitators, sparking a global wave of initiatives aimed at improving mobility access. Yet none captured the imagination quite like Jimmy's original vision, a reminder that sometimes the simplest acts of kindness can ignite the brightest revolutions. What an incredible story! If you loved it as much as we did, make sure to like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Your support helps us bring you even more amazing celebrity stories. And don't forget, new videos every week. See you next time.